President Obama faces an uphill battle as he tries to get the TPP passed, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Joining me now is Phil Levy. He's with the Chicago Council on Global Affairs, here to talk about TPP. Good to have you on the show.
Good to be here.
So besides the president, who really wants this partnership? I'm thinking tech companies definitely are in that category.
Well, I think in the U.S., tech companies would want it. A lot of agriculture wants this because this is a lot of access. The U.S. is already pretty open as a market. This opens up big countries like Japan.
Are people who are in ag worried, and are people who are in tech concerned?
That it won't pass? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It looks like the deck is kind of stacked against the TPP. You call it an uphill battle. I think that's exactly right.
The president yesterday in Laos was telling people in Southeast Asia about all the obstacles that stand in the way. Definitely Congress, he says, could be the biggest one of all.
Well, that's the trick to this, is that the president goes out and negotiates trade agreements, but ultimately it's Congress that has the authority and Congress that has to move, and there's just not a lot of time left for Congress to do things.
How much is the presidential election playing into this? Because TPP all of a sudden has become the negative thing to say right now.
You're right. The presidential election is huge as part of this. It has become the sort of whipping horse for both sides, sure, which was a bit of a surprise. Usually Republicans are for it, not the case with Donald Trump. And it's made things much harder for people in Congress who want to support it to do so.
Do you think there are Republicans behind the scenes that are saying, we want this to happen, and even though Donald Trump is very much against it because he says it robs Americans of jobs, they still would go for it if they didn't have this election going on, even at the state level?
Well, there are absolutely Republicans who want this. The question is, are there enough to add up to a majority in both the House and the Senate? And what we've heard from Republican leaders is, no, right now they're not. And you have very few Democrats who are supporting it.
How are people in Asia, how are the leaders there feeling about it?
I think the people in Asia are feeling very worried. I think the Prime Minister of Singapore talked about this as feeling like a bride who stood up at the altar. That's the potential sort of resentment that you could get. They've been told for years now, don't worry, U.S. domestic politics are all under control. They're starting to question that.
Do you see any glimmers of hope of getting TPP passed anytime soon?
It's right around the level of a glimmer, but not much more than that. It would have to basically be in the lame duck session. There's not a lot of time, there's a lot to do, but that's what everybody is resting all their hopes on.
We mentioned tech and ag, but why would TPP be good? You could definitely make an argument easily of why it's bad, but globally, is that a good thing to do?
Well, actually, I think it's much easier if you get down to the details why it's good, because it's setting a lot of rules of trade. So you have American businesses who get their products shut out because somebody says, well, it violates standards or it doesn't comply with regulations. This is trying to break down those barriers, and our barriers are already pretty low. So most of Asia sees this as pretty much a gift to the United States, and they're puzzled that we won't accept it.
But what about jobs? Do Americans lose jobs to overseas workers?
Right now, our average tariff is something like 1.5%. So the amount of opening that we're doing, the number of jobs put at risk is really, really small, if at all. And we gain jobs as well. So I think we do quite well out of these agreements, but that's not the prevailing wisdom on the political trail.
How do we gain jobs?
We gain jobs because the new markets open up for us. That we have the ability we're a very successful exporting nation, and so we do a great job. We take advantage of our innovative abilities. Markets open, we pounce in there.
Thanks for coming on the show. We will be watching.
Thanks for having me.